I was at brunch last Sunday with a group of friends, and this guy walks in wearing a Gucci belt and off-white sneakers. He's got the keys to his BMW prominently displayed on the table, perfectly positioned next to his mimosa, so absolutely everyone can see that little blue and white logo. About 30 minutes into brunch, the check comes. It's split evenly, and it comes out to about $62 per person. I watch this guy with the designer belt and the luxury par keys pull out his phone and start doing what I can only describe as financial gymnastics. He's checking his banking app, transferring money between accounts, and asking if anyone can Venmo him and he'll get them back next week. I'm sitting there thinking, brother, you drove here in a car that costs $650 a month, but you cannot cover a $62 brunch without moving money around. That's when it hit me that we have an absolute epidemic in this country, not of poverty, but of people who are exhaustively dedicated to looking rich while being broke. I'm talking about having a negative net worth, being one emergency away from total catastrophe, and cosplaying success while drowning in debt. Welcome to Pete Invests, where I spend way too much time analyzing the psychology of fake wealth and why people chase the appearance of money instead of actual money. Today, we are breaking down how the luxury industry has engineered a system to extract maximum dollars from people who can least afford it. I'm going to give you the exact warning signs to watch so you can escape this trap before it destroys your financial future. Before we dive into the signs, you need to understand the entry-level luxury trap. Luxury brands make their real money from wealthy clients with $10 million net worths who buy a new S-Class every 2 years without thinking about it. But the math doesn't work if you only sell to millionaires, so these brands created lower-priced items marketed to people who want to signal wealth but can't afford the real experience. This is why you see $500 key pouches and why a luxury car brand makes a base model that starts at $38,000. A 2023 study found that the average household income of someone financing an entry-level luxury vehicle is actually lower than someone buying a fully loaded Honda Accord or Toyota Camry. The entry-level buyer is stretched thin financially, while the person in the regular car is more likely to own it outright and actually be building wealth. The entry-level trap separates you from your money, which brings us to sign number 1, the logo to net worth ratio. Truly wealthy people, those with 8 figures and up, tend to be surprisingly understated, often not driving luxury cars or wearing visible logos. Why? Because their bank account knows they're wealthy, and they don't need external validation from a stranger at Starbucks. When your checking account doesn't make you feel successful, you seek that feeling from external sources, buying the logo for the reaction you imagine getting from others. Watch out for people whose logos are out of proportion with their income, like someone making $55,000 carrying a $2,800 bag. The math doesn't math, because spending over 6% of your gross annual income on a bag isn't personal preference, it's a financial trap. Sign number 2 is something I call base model badge engineering, and it is incredibly common among young professionals. Someone wants to signal success, so they buy the absolute base model with cloth seats and 0 upgraded features, hoping nobody looks closely at the interior. They pay $42,000 for a driving experience worse than a fully loaded standard car that offers genuine leather, better screens, and superior reliability. You are spending extra money to impress people who don't know any better, while looking completely foolish to actual wealthy people who know cars. Sign number 3 is the visible to invisible wealth gap, which reveals the true psychology behind fake wealth. Visible wealth is the stuff people can see, like your car or clothes, while invisible wealth is your retirement account, investment portfolio, and real estate. Truly wealthy people have a ratio of invisible to visible wealth that might be 10 to 1 or even 20 to 1. They might wear clothes from Costco, but own 3 rental properties free and clear, meaning the visible portion is a tiny fraction of their net worth. But someone cosplaying success has an inverted ratio, with a $50,000 leased car that is a liability and a pathetic $2,000 savings account. If someone displays $68,000 in visible accessories, they would conservatively need $500,000 to $1 million in invisible assets to be financially healthy. Sign number 4 is the lifestyle subscription trap, and the people designing these models are geniuses at extracting revenue. Traditional luxury was about durable ownership, but modern fake wealth is increasingly subscription-based, meaning you are just renting an aesthetic. If you lease a luxury car for 36 months, you pay nearly $25,000, build 0 equity, and own absolutely nothing at the end. The person buying and keeping a regular car spends less monthly, and after 4 years, they actually own an asset with retained value. Over a 10-year period, that is a $35,000 difference, which is entirely wasted on the performance of wealth rather than the building of wealth. Sign number 5 is the social media ratio calculation, which is everywhere today. Genuinely secure people do not need to document every expensive experience, but for someone cosplaying success, the documentation is the entire point. The meal wasn't for them, it was for the Instagram story, meaning they aren't actually enjoying their life, they are just performing it. Studies show that people who frequently post about luxury purchases report lower financial well-being and life satisfaction, getting the worst of all worlds. Sign number 6 is context-dependent flexing, because a genuinely wealthy person presents consistently whether anyone is watching or not. But someone cosplaying success wears designer outfits to events but carries a Target bag to the store, creating an exhausting private financial stress reality. The selective deployment of status symbols is a massive sign that these items are just tools strategically used to create a false impression. Sign number 7 is the financial vocabulary gap, because people who build wealth talk about money differently than people who perform wealth. Someone cosplaying success uses a financial vocabulary that is entirely consumption-based, talking exclusively about what they bought and how much it cost. But someone actually building wealth uses words like compounding, asset allocation, and diversification, talking about money in terms of what it's doing. If you are genuinely oriented toward wealth building, your mind is occupied by the mechanisms of wealth, not just the symbols of it. Listen to how people talk and whether they are talking about spending money or growing it, because the answer tells you everything about their true financial situation. Sign number 8 is the absence of boring wealth, as most real wealth is incredibly boring, invisible, unsexy, and completely unpostable. Genuinely wealthy people have boring things like adequate life insurance, living trusts, and diversified portfolios that they don't check every day. A fake wealthy person has the designer wardrobe but 0 retirement contributions and no liquid emergency funds to fall back on. Nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency, yet a significant portion of them own something with a luxury logo on it. Sign number 9 is the fixed cost-to-income ratio disaster, as financial stability is about how much of your money isn't already committed. Financially healthy people keep their fixed costs below 50% of their take-home pay, leaving room for investing and emergencies. But someone cosplaying success lets their fixed costs hit 80 or 90% because each individual luxury commitment seemed affordable in isolation. They stack affordable luxury apartments and car payments until they only have $45 a day left for their entire life outside of fixed costs. So what happens when a car needs repair? The answer is always more debt, because their lifestyle is a precarious house of cards. That brings me to sign number 10, the money stress inversion, because logically, someone displaying wealth should be completely relaxed about money, but fake wealthy people display luxury while stressing over basics, exhibiting extreme anxiety when it comes to covering real everyday expenses. Real wealth provides options, flexibility, and peace of mind, so if you wear a Rolex but stress about a $300 expense, that watch is why you have no wealth. Society constantly equates visible luxury with worth, pulling you to play a rigged game designed to extract money from the insecure. So how do you escape the fake wealth trap and start building real wealth? Here is my blueprint. First, define wealth correctly, as wealth is assets minus liabilities. It is invisible, boring, and incredibly valuable. Second, track your visible to invisible ratio, and for every dollar spent on something visible, spend $2 on something invisible that builds your foundation. Third, resist the entry-level luxury trap. Buy the genuinely superior, unbranded product and invest the difference in something that will actually make you wealthy. Finally, work on your internal sense of worth, because no amount of designer items will fix internal insecurity. You must build self-worth outside of consumption. You don't need to look rich, you need to actually be rich. So let other people wonder about your finances rather than assuming you're successful based on logos. If this blueprint opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button, because I'm Pete and I will keep helping you build the financial future you deserve. And I'll see you in the next one.